Alright, I'm about to show you a page from the next hit manga. You ready? Bang! Not that one. I mean, this is from the manga I'm gonna be talking about, but I want to show you something with, something with little more mass appeal. You know what I mean? Like a cool moment or something. Like this! No, I think I opened the wrong folder. No, hold on just a minute. Don't leave yet. Hear me out. Actually, no, I won't lie to you. Maybe you should leave. As you saw, the manga is relentless when it comes to fan service, but maybe you like that. Now That We Draw has a formula to be the next dress-up darling, and if it ever gets an anime adaptation, I think we might have our next Gyaru best girl on our hands. Probably should have just led with that. Dress Up Darling has a lot of things that make it so enjoyable. The wholesome romance, its portrayal of cosplay, sharing hobbies, and yeah, the fan service. Now That We Draw checks off very similar boxes. The relationship between Marin and Gojo in Dress Up Darling is such a wholesome one to watch. Despite their polar opposite personalities, they just really work and make each other better. Gojo and one half of the Now That We Draw main duo, Uehara, share a lot of traits. Height is not one of them. But both of them are completely absorbed by their passions. Gojo works early into the morning, trying to improve his craft so he can become a headmaker someday. He becomes so absorbed in it, and it's all he really cares about. I mean, the guy's hobbies before meeting Marin are literally make dolls, talk to dolls, and loving dolls. He believes his interests won't allow him to relate to his other classmates, thus leading himself into isolation. Uehara from Now That We Draw, on the other hand, is always in his room working on manga, specifically romance manga. He's so obsessed with 2D girls, he's forgotten to make any 3D friends. Uehara's dream is to have a romance manga of his own, starring the most innocent, modest, and polite heroine ever. Nothing like those 3D girls at his actual school, but that's exactly his problem. His manga just isn't realistic. I mean, when has that ever stopped any other mangaka? But every time he submits his manuscript for his romance manga, he keeps getting rejected for that very reason. It's detached from reality. But I mean, that's just an obstacle for good old Uehara to overcome, right? He's the star of this manga, for crying out loud. So what does he do when he gets rejected? He gives up. It's over. He never had a shot, really. I can't believe he actually tried this long. While sulking in the hallway trying to decide where to throw away his life's work, he gets interrupted by one of those 3D girls, a popular Gyaru named Miyamoto Nina. Against Uehara's will, Miyamoto reads his manuscript, but instead of being made fun of like he expects, Miyamoto reveals that she's somewhat of a mangaka herself, and whips out her very own original romance manga. Except it's actually good. Well, the art is, at least. But Miyamoto reveals that she has the same problem as Uehara. Her manga just isn't realistic. So, she comes up with an idea that will help them both. Absolutely genius. Her logic is that since both of them don't know what a realistic relationship looks like due to them both being single, they should just date each other for research. They do every unrealistic trope you can imagine from manga, but slowly start to form a real friendship. I mentioned earlier that we might have a new Gyaru character that anime fans may flock to because of her similarities to Marin. But what made Marin such a likable character in the first case? I actually asked some of you guys to help me find the answer to that question. One of the qualities I saw mentioned the most was her authenticity. Lord of Graphite says she's honest and genuine. She isn't trying to be something she isn't. She's not afraid to stand up for herself and not ashamed to be herself. And that's something I really admire about Marin too. From her not being ashamed to yap about things that, frankly, you should be a little ashamed to yap about, to her belief that the things you like have nothing to do with your gender. Marin is the type of person I'm trying to be now and the person I wish I was when I was younger. I love her attitude to live honestly. Say how you feel for your own sake. Miyamoto Nina has similar qualities, though a little different in the way that she's a little bit more reserved in her interests in manga. She doesn't share her manga with anyone besides her editor, but when she finally finds someone her age who also makes manga like her, she can't hold back her enthusiasm. And as we've seen across anime and manga, Gyarus being friends with socially awkward guys come with challenges, like trying to get them to come out of their shells. Marin and Nina both see the potential in their introverted individuals and push them in healthy directions in such wholesome ways. For example, Uehara, after being in a bit of a rut from constant rejection from his editor, finally starts work on a new manga. Even so, he's essentially avoiding submitting it to an editor in fear of another rejection. Miyamoto, though, doesn't let him pass up any opportunities and sets up a meeting for him. Remember when I said healthy directions? Well, for anyone with anxiety, this is literally a nightmare and may result in a panic attack. Which it does. But even so, after his meeting, for the first time, Uehara gets the editor's business card and an invite to come see him again, which would have never happened, or at least not as soon as it did, if Miyamoto didn't give him the push. When Uehara leaves, the editor mentions to his coworker that his work hasn't technically improved, but he can tell Uehara has changed, and it's starting to show. Miyamoto helps Uehara do the things that he wants to do but is afraid to. Uehara starts to gain the confidence to do those things thanks to Miyamoto's encouragement. He's still scared, but he's brave enough now to do those things scared. And when it comes time for Uehara to step up to the plate to encourage Miyamoto when she's at her lowest, he does. It isn't a one-way friendship. Miyamoto isn't always on top of her game, and sometimes it's Uehara whose manga journey is taking off, and it's her who needs the extra push. The art by Kabayuji is absolutely gorgeous. It's such a beautiful and clean art style, but what I love seeing the most in this manga are these dramatic ass reactions he draws from Miyamoto. This one from the first chapter really sets the bar high for these types of pages, but they just keep getting better and more dramatic. Like, relax. And her smile literally melts my heart and reminds me of a certain someone. When trying to compete with an anime with fanservice scenes featuring boob sweat windows and a belly grab that has more detail than all of Blue Lock Season 2. Never mind. What I'm trying to say is that Now That We Draw has some steep competition in the fanservice department, but it manages to keep up. The fanservice is, like I said at the beginning, honestly, relentless. That's ice cream. That's ice cream. There's even a cosplay chapter that, if you don't see the similarities by this point, I don't know what to tell you. But having so much in common with the series so popular can do more harm than good sometimes. Might cause people to look at the new series as a diet version of the inspiration. Can we have Dress Up Darling, Mom? We have Dress Up Darling at home, sweetie. Dress Up Darling at home. But me, I look at it more like, ooh, yum, 2 cakes. When I read these types of manga or watch these types of shows, I look for cute dynamics, trashy drama, and at least one foot scene. Hold on. But seriously, these shows are just junk food for me. I'm not expecting much, but sometimes a show like Dress Up Darling, I get a little bit more than what I expect. I get surprised by how much heart it has. And alongside that cheesiness comes a nice healthy serving of sincerity. Now That We Draw has all that trashy rom-com stuff I love, plus those little surprises I don't expect. There's a moment in chapter 33 that is easily my favorite so far. Uehara and Miyamoto finally get a chance to get published in a manga magazine as stand-ins. 2 popular manga in the magazine are on hiatus, so to fill in a space, the magazine has offered them a slot. Their respective one-shots make the cut, and when the magazine hits the shelves, they both decide to meet up after buying their own copies. Uehara can't help himself and decides to see what the readers are saying about his manga online. All he can find, though, are negative reactions. He's disappointed. He thinks his art didn't reach anyone. But Miyamoto shows him that that's not the case. Miyamoto shows him a page from Uehara's stand-in in her magazine, and it's drowning in sticky notes from her, complimenting his art improvement, expressions she likes, and the feelings she felt while reading. Your hand-drawn stuff isn't that great, but you drew a lot this time. I really respect your desire to improve yourself. The manga really resonated with Miyamoto. It touched her heart. We learned that it touched other readers too, but what Miyamoto did is what brings Uehara to tears. There's this other manga I love about making manga called Draw This Then Die. A character in the manga says to another who is an amateur mangaka that even if your drawings are crap, if you put your heart into it, if your feelings are correct, it'll transcend skill. Your message will reach the reader. And I gotta imagine the reverse is true too. Mangaka pour their soul into their art, and readers around the world can be ruthless. And that, I gotta imagine, reaches them. I'm not saying that artists are above critique. I'm far from it. Artists deserve critique. It's honestly essential for their improvement, but I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that I think we need a little bit more people like Miyamoto on Twitter. Anyway. While we wait on season 2 of Dress Up Darling, why don't you pick up a manga that might capture the same spark? Like, I can so easily imagine it as an anime. There are scenes in the manga that, while reading, that are composed so well and cinematically that, in the hands of the right director, would be beautiful animated. Now that We Draw has that trashy rom-com anime vibe, the unexpected emotional moments, and yeah, a foot scene.